Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee and Commerce with Cascone. I want to talk about the sports and outdoors category today, which according to our data has shown remarkable growth online since the pandemic, with overall purchases up 120% year over year and brands seeing first-time buyers nearly double since the same time last year. Joining me today to discuss this is Angele Young, digital strategist for Cabela's Canada. Angele, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
How is Cabela's focusing their digital efforts during this time, and what has changed over the course of the past 6 months?
A lot has changed. I think everyone can say that. We've had to be a lot more agile. That's the biggest difference. In terms of consumer behaviors, especially in Canada, what we found was that a lot of customers were moved towards buying direct instead of Amazon. So during the height of COVID, the government of Canada actually released an RFP for a distribution company to handle all of the medical PPE for all the country. So Amazon actually was awarded that contract. So what that meant for Amazon Prime and Amazon customers is that there was a significant delay in shipping. So because of this kind of consumer disruption, it allowed for a lot more opportunity for those consumers to come direct and realize we have the same prices. We often have the same kind of shipping. So I think it really shifted a lot of that behavior to buying direct instead of those kind of third-party sellers. And we definitely saw a big increase, obviously in new users. Obviously, just having to be nimble. A lot of our marketing practices were very rooted in traditional marketing, so especially flyer. So being so agile on digital has really allowed us to experiment on some new things, take a bit of that piece of the pie from the traditional marketing budget, being able to invest it in digital and really be able to show dividends to that.
That's awesome. So you're saying like two major things here. I think it's kind of cool, especially as we kind of move out of this age of Amazon, that even with the higher demand of people buying online, where you would think, oh, Amazon's going to come in and crush all of us, because they kind of had to pivot, the other businesses, this was their time to shine. And I think that's really cool because we at Bluecore believe that Amazon isn't the only winner. There's so much more that the brands like Cabela's have to offer from a one-to-one perspective that I don't know if Amazon is always going to be able to replicate. So being able to make that shift is really cool. And I'd love to hear more about what you're saying with regards to the flyers. So in a past episode we had with Mark Friedman, he even mentioned some brands view flyers and catalogs as more of a philosophy. And even though it's harder to measure, it's kind of core to the business. And it seems like you guys are shifting that a little bit, but want to get your take on that overall.
Yeah, for sure. So both Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops, the fundamentals of our business are rooted in direct mail. So a long time ago, both Dick Cabela and Johnny Morris started their business by having a direct order business. So really having that printed distribution has been core to our business, but it's also our history. So we never want to get away from that, but we do realize that there's a time and place for digital. And it's been really exciting because there's been a lot of time during COVID, especially in Canada, we realized that consumers didn't want to be getting a flyer pack. They didn't want to get it at their doorstep, open it up, not knowing who's touched it, where it's been. So there was a big shift in just digital consumption of media. Like people still like the flyer format, like to read it and like to consume the media that way. But even just changing that budget from, maybe dividing our print distribution to 1 million rather than 3 million or whatever it is, putting a fraction of that and investing it in digital was something that we've always wanted to try. Obviously, there was a decent amount of risk involved before, but this was a COVID blessing for us on the digital team, being like, hey, give us a portion of that and we can make it work.
You know, the pandemic has challenged what the traditional marketing mix should look like. And I don't think there's ever going to be a right mix, and it's going to be probably different for every brand. Like you said, something like flyers is so ingrained in the Cabela's heritage, And I would bet that your customers are kind of attached to that too, and they value that part of the business. So it's kind of cool to see how you can preserve some things and maybe pivot and weight other things like digital more heavily. So in that vein, from a digital perspective, since you guys are seeing an influx of first-time buyers, what are you doing to drive repeat purchases with that group?
Well, that's a very good point. So one of the things that we noticed early on is obviously we did get a lot of new customers coming, whether it was people that might have shopped through Amazon or people, just in general, like you said, the sporting goods industry. People wanted to go camping, they wanted to go fishing, they took up a lot more new activities. So one thing that we realized early on was that we were really promotional, especially during the height of COVID. Just to try to get lots of product out, we needed to really keep up with demand. But right now what we're seeing is that we don't need to be as promotional. So focusing more of our efforts, especially with our new customers, on that nurturing relationship. One of the things that I love about Cabela's and Bass Pro is that when you walk into the store, it is an experience. Like it is, a gasping, it's so incredible. The other good thing is when you go and you talk to any of our outfitters, they're the people that are the most passionate about the sports and the activities that we do. So part of what I try to do in digital is try to kind of capture that experience and put it online as best as we can. And that's been really crucial for those new customers that might have never had an in-store experience or don't live near a store, as I want to make sure that that visit is as legendary as we've kind of built our whole empire on in retail.
This is a big topic I'm hearing more and more about. How do you take the community aspect of what a customer, that connection that a customer feels with a brand that is often fostered by the in-store experience, and replicate that digitally? And we're hearing it more and more, and it's really interesting to see how brands are kind of pushing the envelope as far as what are the things that a customer gets excited about when they walk into the store, and how do I translate that online? So I think it's really smart that Cabela's is thinking that way and thinking about ways to foster that connection with education and moving away from this perpetual promotion cycle, which at the end of the day isn't really healthy for the business anyway. So that's amazing to hear. And before we wrap up, I'd love to hear, because I know Cabela's is a real innovator and you guys test and learn different things. Is there any particular program that you're really excited about that you've done over the past 6 months?
There's basically two things, especially within Bluecore, that I'm quite proud of the work that we've done. And one is the geolocating offers. So obviously we do a lot of activities that are seasonally different, especially on the geography of Canada. So for instance, fishing season, you have salmon on one coast, but you might have like pike or walleye in the middle of the country. So I always try to akin the digital experience to the retail experience, because that's what we know, and that's what we know worked for so long. So if it's raining in a city, the Walmart store manager is going to put out a pad of umbrellas and rain gear to the front of the store, because that's what's seasonally relevant, and that's what's relevant for that exact day and what's happening. So I want to do that online. So being able to ingest geographical data within Bluecore has helped really hyper segment within our hyper segments. So I can say that, okay, this is our full promotional offering, but this is what people in British Columbia are going to be interested in. Hey, it's raining in Winnipeg, this is what we're going to be offering. So really being able to show that we know the customer, like we're not just, it's not some robot sending random products that might not be of interest to you. It's really that personalized effort, and it comes just with, plugging in that extra data within Bluecore and letting it shine. So that's definitely something I'm really excited about, especially as we head into winter. We have a lot of really interesting things planned.
For sure. And I imagine that same idea works really well with store closures and openings in different regions, like promoting curbside inside of certain areas, especially as we go into the holiday season. So Angele, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you everyone for joining Coffee and Commerce.